This is Duke University.
I think it's really important to find a way, as you're a new leader, to do something. Many times when things are going very well, it's easy because you just keep it going and you find other ways to make it go. And there's always ways. Organizations and companies, big or small, have to change, not every day, but constantly. And I was fairly lucky when I came in as CEO in 2009, early 2010, that we had some things we definitely had to change. So we got a team together, our strategic planning committee, I called it, 16 of us. My predecessors had done it as well, so it wasn't new to us. But we sat in a room and we said, what do we really want to be here? What do we want to do? What do we really think has to happen? And we decided we had to make some fairly big changes. So within 6 months, we announced a major restructuring of the company. We went to top to bottom business units and P&Ls, which hadn't been done before, concentrating the P&L leader in the executive office, direct report to me. And then we ended up identifying our officer group, identifying strong players, weak players, the ones that we didn't think could take us forward, and we made some pretty tough decisions on about 1 in 5 of those, which had never been done before in the company. So our mark, and in that case, my mark as leader, was made at that point in time, and it was really one of driving accountability and accepting the results. You're accountable for your actions. I have learned a lot about leading in tough times. My first foreign assignment was Uruguay, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, the southern cone of South America in 1981, just after the Mexican debt bomb, the big devaluations ransacked Latin America. I watched companies go out of business. I watched countries go broke. I watched my friends' families lose everything. And that was a depression in the early 80s after the first big petrodollar recycling. We've been through 6, 8 real tough troughs since then. 08, 09 was tough. The one thing I remember, I tell a good story about this in Latin America. We and our dealers typically have struggled in closing work orders. A work order is where a customer will bring a machine in, have it serviced, machine leaves, and it takes a few days, weeks, or months to get the bill out. In those days, 1981, you can imagine. But because inflation was so high, they were invoicing 2, 3, 4 times a day and changing the price 2 or 3, 4 times a day. They became very efficient at closing these work orders. And we always said, it is possible to get it done if there's a burning platform. So that's a lesson I remember very, very vividly, that if things are really tough, you can do things you never thought you could do. And typically we've used downturns, troughs, to make big moves in what we're trying to do to get ahead of our competition. Sustainability is interesting, and it's a word that's way overused, has definitions for everybody. It's become very generic, but when you get into it at CAT, it's really important. We do lots of things. We move dirt, we dig mines, we supply the tools to do all kinds of wonderful things to the planet and for people. And we felt a real sense of obligation, everything from clean emissions from our diesel engines. And today that diesel engine is as clean as any gasoline engine. It's the cleanest engine in the history of the diesel, which dates back to the late 1800s. We're very proud of that. We have a tremendous recycling and remanufacturing business. And by that I mean, take that engine that's in a machine that's maybe 20 years old, worn out. And if you look at it, it looks like a rusted piece of metal, nothing left to it. We take it out of that machine, we send it to, in this case, Mississippi, in this country. We completely remanufacture that engine, reuse as much of that as we can, put it back out into another machine with a new machine warranty. Now you can imagine the impact on the planet and on society for not having to put iron ore in it to dig that up, to reuse the copper that's in the engine and the alternator, in the windings of the alternator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our dealers rebuild the entire machine and give it a second and third life. We're lucky in terms of our past success at Caterpillar. 90 years, not a lot of companies are around 90 years. Caterpillar is an iconic brand. I'm so proud when I can walk into almost any corner of the world and I say I'm from Caterpillar, and they know the company. And that's really a lot of fun. I enjoy that, but that's a heavy obligation too, because we've been here 90. I want to be here another 90 more. I have this little tiny window of time that I'm the leader. I've got to make sure that happens. And so I take that pretty seriously. I tell our employees all the time, that's the weight I feel on my shoulders, is now a short-term delivering, getting things done, but to make sure we're there 90 more years stronger than ever and persevere. So somebody can say 90 years from now, we're 180 years old, and there'll be very few companies around at that time, of that age.